Hey, folks, welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel for another episode of the Husker Big Red podcast. It's game day. We got Nebraska and Illinois on a Friday night. I know not everybody is a huge fan of the Friday night games. There's volleyball tonight. You got high school football, but I have a feeling that plenty of people in Nebraska will find a way to tune in one way or another. But Danny, how you feeling this morning about just about the world in general and the Husker game tonight?
Well, I will say I'm happy I can see this game on TV because I took a look, not to get too sidetracked, but at the basketball schedule, and I'm gonna miss a lot of games because I'm not paying out of pocket for all these stupid streaming services. So I'm glad I get to see the football game tonight, and I'm ready for a win. As we saw on Sunday, they practiced the day after the Michigan game to kind of get the bad taste out of their mouth, so to speak, and now I'm ready to get a victory and ready to kind of, get our first win in Big Ten play here.
I do know what you're talking. That was the basketball schedule, and all the games on Peacock and
Yeah,
Big Ten Plus. They already got me. I'm already suckered in with Peacock, so I'm already I'm
I
already
have
in for
Peacock
the
too, but it's like
yeah. I'm not getting Big Ten Plus, so that's just like I
no,
already I already play for the Big Ten network. Why do I have to pay
yeah.
an extra service? It's just like I mean, come on, man. Like so, I'll just if I have to, I did last year. For those games, I just listened to the play-by-play at Huskers.com. So pretty
Well, there's a
solid
lot
backup
more.
option.
There's a lot more games on Big Ten Plus this year than there were last year. I think.
I noticed that, which is kind of annoying. I don't know. I might have to check into that this year. We'll see if it. I mean, maybe
Don't
for
fall for the trap,
basketball,
Chris.
I probably will though. Because I do want to
uh,
watch I think the women's team's going to be pretty good this year too. So, but anyway, not to get sidetracked on
yeah,
basketball. I know it's big game on Friday night. Matt Rule, said last Saturday after the Michigan game, you're going to find out about me. You're going to find out about this team Friday night. So we'll find out tonight. Illinois is another team that really needs to win this game. Honestly, they're sitting at 2-3 as well. They're also 0-2 in the Big Ten. They haven't played defense like they did a year ago. They're coming off a 44-19 loss to Purdue on the road. Their other loss in the Big Ten was to Penn State. They beat Toledo, I think, in maybe it was overtime. So I mean, they haven't like set the world on fire either in year three of Brett Bielema. So both teams really need this game. I think Illinois is like a 3-point favorite right now. So yeah, I guess let's get into this preview here. When Nebraska has the football, I don't know if it's been announced yet, but I'm assuming that Heinrich Harburg is going to be the starting quarterback tonight. I still wouldn't surprise me if we saw Jeff Sims tonight. I don't know. What do you think about the whole quarterback situation?
I think you still got to roll with Harburg. Honestly, I mean, yes, he didn't have a good game on Saturday, and yes, this point hasn't beaten to death, but he is not a very turnover prone quarterback. And that will at least keep you in games. And again, we played Michigan last Saturday. Michigan is going to make anybody look bad. So I'm not ready to write Harburg off yet just because of a poor Michigan performance. And I think, tonight will be a good chance for him to get back on track. And I think he'll be able to play more his game. Um, which means running with the football, short passes here and there to just kind of move the chains and avoid down and distance. And I think it'll be a more friendly game plan for him on Friday today. And I don't know. I think it just signifies that Harburg is going to be the guy for probably the majority of the season. I don't want to say the rest of because there could be a shot that Sims still plays, but you've gotten a couple wins with Harburg now, and you've made him the starter the past couple weeks. Do you really want to, stray away from what's been at least sort of working to this point? I would.
I think it depends. I think tonight is really important for Harburg because
Yeah.
he has won a couple games, but that was also Louisiana Tech and Northern Illinois, so he hasn't really done it against the Big Ten team, and obviously Michigan is Michigan. So I think you can throw that out a little bit out the window as an outlier performance. So tonight, it really is the big test. If he can go out there and execute, run the football, take care of it, make some completions and get some points on the board, then I do think that he'll be the starting quarterback going forward. But I think that is why that Matt Rule hasn't ruled out Jeff Sims. And look, man, it's this offense. I wrote about this the other day, and people kind of got mad, but some people kind of agreed. But there's not a lot of impact players on this offense, and there's not gonna be. You know what I mean? Like the
No.
I know Jaden. We talked about Jaden Doss, and that would be helpful to have him make an impact with some of these other freshmen. But there's only so much that they're going to be able to do. I mean, those guys are explosive, but the fact is Nebraska lost two pretty good players at the running back position, right? And Thomas Fedoni is still coming back to, he's still probably a year away from being the guy that we expected him to be when he was, recruited to Nebraska. It's going to take him that year. He's still being productive, but he's not Brock Bowers right now. So it's Nebraska just has a very, they have to run the football. They have to, play great defense. They have to be a defensive team, like Matt Rule said. And I think Harburg can be that kind of quarterback, but he's got to prove it tonight. And, I look at this team and it's like, I don't think we're going to see a lot of games with this team, like, scoring 30, 40 points. That's just not who they're going to be. They need to run the football, play really good defense, and just not turn the ball over. And that's going to be their formula for winning games. And you can win that way, but I just don't see Nebraska, winning a lot of shootouts. I guess I'll just put it that way.
No, they're very ball control, control the clock, try to get points in the red zone and then rely on your defense type of team. And that can only work for so long, especially when you play some of the tougher teams that can score quite literally at will. But I am interested to see how they do tonight. I'm interested, and I guess maybe we can start with our keys to the game. I think the first key for me for Nebraska is better offensive line play. And I know Michigan makes everybody look stupid. I get that. But at the same time, this offensive line has not been good. And people want to point to Marcus Satterfield as, a problem as the offensive coordinator. And I'm sure he has some flaws, and I've definitely seen some flaws of his, but it was pretty evident against Michigan. Yes, I know, again, Michigan, that, the line in general is not giving him or Heinrich Harburg enough time to develop the plays that they want to call. And they also don't have the playmakers that, they want to call his offense. Because I think at heart, this offense wants to kind of, throw the ball, move the ball quickly down the field with explosive plays, and they just don't have that or the time because of the line. So, better offensive line play, I think, for me, is the first key for tonight.
I think the biggest key for me is, and it goes on both the sides of the ball, but Nebraska has to win the rushing yards battle. They just have to. If Illinois is able to run the football tonight and, put Luke Altmaier in, favorable down and distances, it's really going to be, troublesome, I think, for this Nebraska defense. And on the same side, offensively, I mean, Nebraska, if Heinrich Harburg, is throwing the ball 30, 40 times tonight, that's not a good thing. I don't think Nebraska fans ever want him throwing more than like 20 passes, 20, 25 passes. They've got to get him going in the option game. Whether he's pitching it or not, I don't really care. He has to be productive in that way. That's just whoever's playing quarterback. And this is why I think there's maybe a chance we do, see both quarterbacks at some point this season, because both guys have to run the ball. So I mean, there really is the staff just has to play caution to the wind at this point, because that's been the best method for moving the football, is running the quarterback. So they need to run Harburg. They still obviously need to throw the football, and it would be nice to see, Doss. We saw Jalen Lloyd catch a pass last week, which was a positive thing. Billy Kemp needs to get more involved, and they obviously did. Michigan has one of the best slot corner, probably the best slot corner in the country, and Mike Sainer still. So I mean, that's another part of it. He probably did a pretty good job shutting down Billy Kemp, but getting those guys involved. But Nebraska can't be in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 2nd and 10. They just can't. They're not that type of team, and if they live like that, Illinois will probably eat them alive. And that's when you put your quarterback. To me, the also another key is both of these teams are averaging about 2 giveaways per game. They're turning the ball over 2 times per game. So which team, is going to protect the ball tonight? And I think that's going to come down to which team runs it better, because, if Luke Altmaier is in 3rd and 10 and we can, Cam Lenhart and those dudes can pin their ears back and put pressure on him, that's when quarterbacks make mistakes. But if he's in those manageable situations, then I think he'll be able to avoid those. So whichever team, I guess, wins on 1st and 2nd down running the football, I believe is going to win this game tonight.
Yeah, and I think those are definitely fair points. The down and distances are going to be crucial, because you don't have the type of offense where you can, make big plays at will. And, you talked about running the football. For me, getting Josh Fleeks going is going to be big for me tonight, because you already have Anthony Grant, right? But with the running attack that Nebraska wants to run, you need multiple running backs. And Fleeks showed what he could do a little bit last week. He was one of the only bright spots of the Michigan game. He had a carry for 74 yards in that touchdown. Now he's the number 2 running back, so I want to see him get going more so tonight as well. And I think there's been a lot of movement in terms of positions over these past couple weeks, and Fleeks might be a good fit at running back for the remainder of the season. So I'd love to see him get going, just so we know what we really have there for the entirety of a game, and if he can really take over that second running back spot.
Yeah, it's a big key. I wrote 3 keys to victory, for Nebraska this week, and one of them was getting Josh Fleeks involved, because you talk about, lack of explosive. There's not that many guys on this team that could have taken that run 74 yards for a touchdown. I'll just put it that way. So, we need to get this guy on the field more, and I understand there's some adjustment, but, he's carried the ball, 30, 40 times in his career, so this isn't like totally new to him. And I'm not saying that he needs to touch the ball 20 times a game, but throw him a few passes out of the backfield. He's been a receiver before. Get him on some of those option routes, hand the ball off to him, just get the ball into Fleeks in space, and just take some of the pressure off of Anthony Grant. But he looks like a guy that could be something in this offense. So I hope, we see more of that tonight. And yeah, because this offense needs a spark. I mean, and Michigan's defense, like I said, is spectacular. I think one thing with the Nebraska offensive line, the pass blocking is an issue, which is another reason why I think it's good to stick with the running game. One advanced stat that I saw, I can't remember who, it's one of the FBS stats or whatever, but it was talking about most yards gained before contact, and Nebraska actually ranked 25th in the country in that statistic by the running backs, most yards gained before getting contacted, which generally would make you think that they're blocking pretty well. They actually ranked above Michigan in that statistic. So I think that shows that the run blocking part of it they can do. They really, it obviously didn't happen last week, but Illinois is allowing 4.6 yards per carry. So it's not a great run defense. They're not, Ryan Walters, the DC, is at Purdue now. And so this isn't the defense from last year. And if Nebraska can establish that running game, which they've been able to do basically every game but last week, I think they're going to have a pretty good shot.
And for me, you talk about running. I guess one of my last keys to the game here is second level tackling. And what I mean by that is, Illinois runs the football. They obviously don't have Chase Brown anymore, thank goodness. But they're still a decent running team. And, one thing I saw, again, going off last week, yes, it's Michigan, was, we did okay on the first level. I thought first level of defense. But once we gave, the running back a little bit of space, we had trouble tackling at the second level. We saw a little bit, better, second level tackling against weaker opponents like Louisiana Tech and Northern Illinois. But I'd love to see, you know, if they can't get to the running backs tonight at the first level, then they need to make sure the play is taken care of before the backs get into open field. And, being able to finish at the second level of defense will be extremely important.
And I think it also goes to, Matt Rule last week, he kind of, or on Monday, he kind of called out, not so much, but, he said basically like our best players need to show up, and our top players didn't show up against Michigan. And to me, I think he was calling out Ty Robinson and Nash Hutchmaker. I mean, those are two supposed to be, they did not play well against Michigan.
No.
I mean, so those guys have to play well. Cameron Leonard, they got to be able to rush the passer. Like Illinois is a team that
him being back, Leonard is going to be big.
Yeah, that will be big because they've missed him. But Illinois is, they're 13th in the Big Ten in tackles for loss allowed, and they're 12th in the Big Ten in sacks allowed on a per game basis. So this should be a good opportunity for the Nebraska front, which is one of the better teams, or has been one of the better teams, sacking the quarterback to get some pressure and really put Illinois in some tough positions. So hopefully we'll see that. Altemeyer is a good quarterback. I mean, he's completed 65% of his passes, so he is a highly skilled guy. They've got some talented receivers, but 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So, not to hammer that point home, but really turnovers are going to decide this game, and whoever runs the ball better and, can basically force some takeaways is probably going to win this one. I think it's going to be nip and tuck. I don't know if you saw this, but Bill Bush said that he thinks Nebraska is going to win by 3 touchdowns. I'm not sure,
Ooh.
I'm drinking that Kool-Aid, but I do think Nebraska can be a good team. So I don't know. This is a huge game because you've got after this you've got the bye week. So like I wouldn't want to be Matt Rule, sitting at 2-4 with another loss in that bye week because it's going to be a rough in this entire team. It's going to be a rough 2 weeks if they don't win this game because there's just a world of difference between 3-3 and 1-2 in the Big Ten. Hey, like we're looking at a bowl game. We're not that far out of the Big Ten West race. Whereas opposed if you lose this game, you're 2-4, and you've got to win 4 out of 6 just to make a bowl game. You have no hope in the conference race. I'm not saying that Nebraska has a hope to win the conference race, but just the perception of it all is going to be so much different based on a win or a loss tonight.
And honestly, tonight's going to be a night, I believe, where we see some new faces step up. We have Princewell Umamilian kind of probably making his debut at the jack position. Then you have DeAndre Barnes is the second player at Rover. So there's a bunch of new faces going to, you know, be making their debut. In my opinion, tonight. And we already talked about Jaden Doss and quite honestly, I think we're going to see more faces debut, throughout the next couple weeks because the depth at certain positions right now is really, really low, and we're really, really hurting at some positions. So, if you want instant playing time, now they have their chance, and I'll be interested to see what Uma Million does tonight. He had 130 tackles last season as a senior at Manor High School, and it's one of those things where you ask yourself, you know can he do what he did in high school, and will his skill set translate? We're going to find out tonight.
I'm excited to see him at that jack position. I think that
Yeah.
was a nice move. He's a really strong athlete, and one thing that's why it would just be there's a lot of young players, Len Hurt, Uma Malian, Van Poppel has come on. You look at offense, Jaden Doss, Malachi Coleman has been in the mix. He's also had to deal with some injuries, but Jalen Lloyd, if they could get to 3-3 and then you have that bye week, coming out of that bye week, maybe some of these guys will be more ready to play, and then you can kind of get a boost for the second half of the season. So that's another thing to think about because Matt Rule's, he talked about how, he likes what he's seeing from these young guys. It's just there's a big leap from, going to, any high school level football to the Big Ten now, especially in this COVID era, because teams are just so old. I mean, that there's guys that,
Yeah.
just look at a lot of the quarterbacks. So I think that's another thing that's also making it harder for freshmen to contribute right away is just because there's so many guys that
Yeah.
are on their 5th, 6th year now. So it's not that in freshmen there's not. There's just like Michigan. Not a lot of those. They have a couple of freshmen that have made impacts, but not a lot. So I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. But it would be nice to see Jaden Doss get in there a little bit tonight. And I still want to just see Malachi Coleman, just throw him a deep ball. I know that's not that easy to say, you have to try to get some play action and some stuff like
I don't
that.
know if
But
we have a quarterback that can accurately throw a deep ball
well,
either. That's the thing.
I think Jeff Sims can, but can he catch the snap? Can he, you know what I mean? So it's interesting to me, but I feel like there's a reason why Matt Rule, still has the, the or by, the quarterback name there. But we'll see if Heinrich has a good night tonight. Maybe that'll remove it.
It's a big game for him, for Harburg, I think, because if he has another bad game, do you go back to Sims and then do we all riot and what happens? All kidding aside, I do think this is a big game for him because Michigan you can kind of throw out the window a little bit because they're the number 2 team in the country, but now you have, in my opinion, a winnable game. Poor play, is not going to be good enough. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's not going to be good enough, but it will be interesting because if he loses this game, I feel like it wouldn't shock me, I guess, if Sims does start the next one, coming out of that bye week, maybe they kind of just like, fresh started again. And the thing about Jeff Sims, I wrote this too, because he's one of the few guys that has NFL talent. I'm not saying that he has played like an NFL player, but if everything went right, if he could just get everything in his mental space right, he's got an NFL arm, right? And Nebraska just doesn't have a lot of guys like that. So I think that's maybe part of the reason why they're like, well, let's see if we can win with Harburg now, but let's just keep Jeff, there because I mean, whether he's as a second runner or whatever, I mean, I feel like he's too talented for this team specifically to just say, well, we're just going to sideline him the rest of the year.
But again, it's easy to, and I'm not saying you're doing this, I'm just saying a general statement. It's easy to criticize Harburg for his poor play or Sims for his poor play when they have no time to throw the football. I don't care who it is. Quarterbacks need time to throw the football, and that falls on the offensive line. This line is not getting better, and the Michigan game aside, they weren't even good really against Louisiana Tech. So I'll be interested to see how the line does and if they can allow plays to develop enough to where Harburg can have a good game, or develop enough to where Sims could feel comfortable back there. Because yes, Harburg and Sims have their fault, and it's not all the offensive line's fault, but this line is not progressing, and I think that's something to watch for as the season continues because it doesn't matter who you have back there. If you have a bad offensive line, they'll make any quarterback look bad.
That they will. So let's go. We'll talk the schedule here in just a minute, but let's make our final predictions for this game. Nebraska is a 3.5-point underdog to Illinois tonight. Kickoff 7 p.m. Central Time, Fox Sports 1. Who do you got, Danny?
23-20, Tristan Alvano redeems himself and makes a game-winning kick like he did in the state championship game.
Boom. I'm going to go similar score. I got Nebraska winning a 2017 slugfest. So that would be huge if both of us actually are right in this. So we'll see. So far in my predictions this year, I'm 5-0 straight up. So I've picked everything right, 2-3 against the spread. So not doing so well there, but we'll see. Hopefully, keep that good streak rolling. But Nebraska really needs a win tonight. So hopefully we're both right.
That's the other thing too. I think Tristan Alvano needs to have a better game. And granted, it's easy for me to say, and he's not trying to miss field goals, but 3 to 6 points can make a big difference tonight. And I hope he bounces back and his head's kind of clear and the yips are gone because Nebraska. I think he's going to play a bigger part in this game than we realize.
He's going to need to step in and make some kicks because this is going to be, I think, an NFL type game where points are at a premium, with the clock, and definitely going to have to hit a couple field goals if they're going to win this game tonight. Real quickly, just our last couple of minutes here, want to just touch on the schedule with the 2024 schedule and kind of moving beyond for the next 5 years. The Big Ten released the conference opponents. We don't know exactly when the games will be played, but we do know the dates, and man, it's going to be pretty difficult. With this schedule going forward, I want to say I'll have to double check looking ahead at next year, but at any rate, it's going to be tough moving forward for the Huskers.
Yeah, they better they better win this year and then recruit their ass off next year and keep the recruits that they have for next year because this is going to be absolutely brutal. And it might honestly, people are always, how long does a rebuild take? Well, these next couple schedules might slow down the rebuild a little bit, in my opinion, because Nebraska has their work cut out for them.
So 2024, you've got UCLA at home, Wisconsin at home, Rutgers and Illinois at home, and then road games against Indiana, Iowa, Purdue, Ohio State, and USC. So obviously, but I mean, it's not horrible because you don't. When I look at it, basically, in my opinion, there's 4 premier teams in the Big Ten. Well, 5, I guess, if you're going to count. Really, I guess I'd say 6 top teams right now that Washington, Oregon, USC, and then basically Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. So there's 6 teams there that you really don't want to play. Nebraska only plays 2 of them next year. In 2025, they play USC, Michigan, and Penn State. So they play 3 that year. 26, it's Ohio State, Washington, and Oregon. Obviously, teams are going to get better, but so it's not horrible. There's plenty of winnable games on there. It's just I think it's going to make getting the 9-10 win seasons really difficult. I think it's also you're not probably going to see as many of the like they're playing Colorado next fall. I'm guessing those games are going to stop happening because they're going to already be making a trip to the West Coast every single year. That's so next year it's USC, 25 it's UCLA, 26 it's Oregon, 27 it's Washington. So they have a West Coast trip every single year. So my guess is that they're those 3 games, they're going to schedule those down to try to get, then you've got your 3 bowl eligibility games, then you just have to win 3 Big Ten games to get to a bowl game. But with the way the schedule shapes up, that's not going to be easy any year. So I don't think that it's drastically going to hurt the program, but I do think that, it's going to make ever getting to that 9-10 win threshold, you're going to have to be pretty damn good to reach that.
And, it's going to be a test to see, how good this staff can really recruit, because now you're going to have, a bunch of teams that are also vying for the same recruit, and it's going to make finding those diamond in the rough guys really important. And not that he was a diamond in the rough, but you look at Kawan Lacey and how his stock has risen. And side note, I hope he stays committed, but it's going to be important to find those diamond in the rough recruits, and that development piece that this staff hangs their hat on is going to be of even more importance moving forward.
That it definitely will. It'll be an interesting time to be a Nebraska fan. Make sure that you guys hit the subscribe button here at the Husker Big Red YouTube channel, so you don't miss any of our content. Make sure that you also hit the like button, get into the comment section. That really helps us out. And we'll be on here tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. We'll do a little post game. Either we can revel in the Huskers win, or we can all be pissed off together. But come hang out with us on Saturday morning. We'll have a little chat to talk about the after effects, the post game of the Illinois, and hopefully the Huskers get a win, man. We all need one. So with that being said, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate that. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.